guys, Response27 here, and I'm really sorry for the lack of reviews as of late, but due to the pacing of the chapters, as well as school of course, I decided to review the first 3 chapters of 2015 for Bleach. So let's get started on Bleach chapter 612, Dirty. So the chapter begins with a 4-page recap of Yhwach entering the Soul King's palace and stabbing him with a sword. The same scene shown at the ending of the previous chapter. Well, to be fair, Kubo was sick, so this chapter was delayed, and there was some new content, but not a lot. I mean, we actually get to see how Yhwach entered into the Soul King's palace, and a little bit of new dialogue, him calling the Soul King an imperfect god, and that he will end this long, never-ending disgrace. But aside from that, it's basically the same thing like how 611 ended. It's like Kubo assumed we forgot what happened at the ending of that chapter. Also, after looking up close to the Soul King, who's still sealed in that crystal thing by the way, it looks like he has no arms and legs. Maybe that's why Yhwach called him imperfect. Then again, we don't know a lot about the Soul King, and I don't know if we're ever going to learn anything else about him, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So we cut back to the Serite as we see Renji and Rukia arriving at what looks like Urahara's location. They meet up with Shinji and Omaida, who still has his sister with him, by the way, and we get to learn how they escaped from Basby's Burner Finger 3. According to Omaida, it was all thanks to, and I quote, Captain Hirako and our efforts. Okay, so we can assume that Shinji used Sakenade against Basby, which makes sense. But what the hell could Omaida do against Basby? Luckily, Soifang shows up and shuts up Omaida, and her injuries, along with Omaida's little sister, have been tended to by Hinamori, which is good because seeing Omaida's little sister getting stabbed by one of BG9's tendrils was really messed up. Anyway, all the Shinigami received an urgent message from Urahara telling them to go to his location even if it means abandoning their current battle. So the Shinigami that have gathered outside enter the building as we see Urahara and Yushiro making some preparations, as well as Byakuya and Nanao. And also we get a confirmation of Yushiro's gender. Yushiro is a male, which means that he is Yoruichi's little brother. And for some reason Soifang goes all giddy over him. I really have no idea why. I always thought she had the hots for Yoruichi, or does she always have the hots for any member of the Shihoin clan? But the way she was acting towards Yushiro, giving him spending money, maybe she considers herself like an aunt or an older sister towards Yushiro. I'm not really sure. Anyway, we also get an update on the rest of the Shinigami that we haven't seen in a while. First off is Squad 7's Tetsuzaimon and Kumamura. According to Urahara, they won't be joining them anytime soon because of Captain Kumamura's injuries. And by injuries, I mean the fact that he's turned into a dog. I don't know if Tetsuzaimon told that part to Urahara, or if Urahara knows about Kumamura now being a dog. Although in this one panel, we see Tetsuzaimon and Kumamura being confronted by a couple of fodder Quincy's, so maybe they can't arrive at the moment because they're a bit caught up with their own little battle or something. I really have no idea. As for Mayuri and Nemu, they'll be joining with them eventually, along with Kensei and Rose. Apparently, Byakuya didn't tell them that Kensei and Rose are now zombies. As for Kenpachi, Shunsui, Ikaku, and Yumichika, they're currently getting their injuries taken care of in intensive care. However, Kenpachi is in critical condition. Also, Shunsui is still in his meeting with Room 46, to which we still don't know why he's meeting Room 46, but we can assume it's got something to do with Aizen. But Urahara still hasn't received any word from Rangiku and Toshiro, which is kind of strange because the last time we saw Toshiro, he was with Mayuri and he also got injected by the blood antidote. So him and Rangiku must have also been turned into Mayuri zombies just like Kensei and Rose. The only reason I can possibly think of as to why Byakuya or Mayuri never told Urahara about the zombie captains and lieutenant is because either Mayuri is going to figure out a way to turn them back to normal, or he doesn't want to cause any of the rest of the Shinigami to worry. I mean, imagine how Hinamori would react if she learned that Toshiro is now a zombie. Anyway, the reason why Urahara is trying to gather up all the Shinigami captains and lieutenants and seated officers is that so they can break into the Soul King's palace by using Yushiro's Tenshi Heiso that he brought a couple chapters back and the pedestal that Mayuri made. We cut back to Ichigo and the others managing to arrive at the Soul King's palace, but considering how high it is, how are they going to get in? Well, apparently Orihime's Santen Keshun also works as a levitating platform. Yeah, apparently her shield works like that. Just go with it. And then the chapter ends with Ichibe saying, "Sorry humans, forgive me, but you cannot win against Yhwach." So that is Bleach chapter 612. What did I think? Well, Kubo was sick, which was the reason why the chapter was delayed, and I'm glad he was feeling better, but this wasn't a very good chapter to start off the new year. The pacing of this chapter was kinda slow. Not a lot of progress has been made, and the first couple of pages was just a longer version of the ending to the previous chapter that we've already seen and read before. Honestly, the best part of the chapter was getting an update on the rest of the Shinigami and what happened to them, and this was basically a setup chapter for them breaking into the Soul King's palace and for Ichigo and the others arriving at the Soul King's location. And speaking of the Shinigami, I honestly have no idea what the hell they are going to do once they get to the Soul King's palace. Maybe they'll fight against the elite guards Haschwald and Uryu, but I assumed that they will be dealt with by Ichigo and the others. So if not that, then maybe they'll try to help Ichigo take on Yhwach. But Yhwach is a freaking Quincy god, and these guys couldn't even defeat Aizen. So forgive me if I sound very doubtful with the Shinigami. And finally, with what Ichibe said at the end, "Forgive me, but you cannot win against Yhwach," which is very weird because in the previous chapter, he asked for Ichigo and the others to stop Yhwach from killing the Soul King. Yet here he says that they cannot win. So did Ichibe wanted Ichigo to slow down Yhwach from killing the Soul King or something? I assume Kubo intended to give the readers a sense of hopelessness, a sense of tension for the final battle, but to me this is giving me mixed signals. So overall, I thought this chapter was average and honestly not a very good start to 2015. So let's move on to Bleach chapter 613, The Ordinary Peace. So the chapter begins with Ichibe continuing what he said in the previous chapter. What he meant in the previous chapter when he said, "You cannot win against Yhwach," he means that they couldn't defeat him with their abilities, but fear not, that is all there is to the so-called peace. I honestly have no idea what he means by that, because if they don't stop Yhwach, the entire existence of Bleach will be destroyed. So how is not defeating Yhwach with their abilities this so-called peace? If any of you guys understand what Ichibe was saying in this chapter, can you guys let me know in the comments below, because I really have no idea. We cut back to Urahara's meeting place as we see a couple more Shinigami arriving from the dissection/autopsy room. I'm just gonna call it the medical bay. One of them happens to be Ukitake, surprisingly, who is helping Isane and Hanataro, someone we haven't seen for a very long time, on healing Ikkaku, Yumichika, Shuhei, and Kenpachi. It seems that since Ukitake has been frail and sick throughout the majority of his life, he has a very profound knowledge on healing techniques. Oh, and if you're wondering if we're ever going to get an explanation on the Kamikake, yeah, no, we don't get that in this chapter. Are we ever going to get that explanation about Kamikake soon? I honestly have no idea. Now, I thought it was cool seeing Hanataro again. We haven't seen him for a very long time, and it seems that he's been promoted to 3rd seat. And I can't be the only one who's wondering what the hell happened with Isane during all this time. The last time we saw her, she was getting Kensei and Rose and moving them away from Kenpachi's battle against Gremi. And this was the only time she ever appears since then. And we all knew what happened with Kensei and Rose. They've turned into Giselle zombies. So, what the hell happened during all that time? Did Isane confront Giselle, but got defeated by Giselle or something? And what makes this worse is that I doubt we're gonna get an explanation on what happened. Oh, and those two kiss-ass Shinigami, Kione and Sentaru, whatever, they're there too. Anyway, Shuhei, Ikkaku, and Yumichika have their injuries healed, but Kenpachi won't be regaining his mobility anytime soon. At least I was led to believe, because Kenpachi, well, him being Kenpachi, appears right behind them and has his injuries healed. He asks Urahara where Ichiru is, but Urahara tells him that Squad 11 is out searching for her. He was about to leave and join the search party, but Urahara then places a keto-looking gate thing to block the exit. And surprisingly, it's not Urahara that puts him in his place, it's Nanao of all people. She tells him that his entire squad is doing the searching, and what Kenpachi should do is focus on doing all that he can in his respective role as captain. And it freaking works on Kenpachi. He decides to stay, and Urahara tells all the Shinigami to come to the platform and take an orb that contains Ryatsu. So he's making preparations for all the Shinigami to break into the Soul King's palace. As we cut back to there, Ichigo and his group arrived at the palace, confronting Yhwach, and the chapter ends with him saying, "Ichigo, you are to be crushed atop the gears of fate. A small insect like you has no need to curse his destiny. Be thankful. It shall be these very hands that you perish." So that is Bleach chapter 613. What did I think? I really wanted to like this chapter, but once again, not a lot of progress has been made. It's just preparations are being made for breaking into the Soul King's palace, and Ichigo and the others arriving at the palace, confronting Yhwach. So it seems that it's not going to be Ichigo that's going to fight against Yuha, it's going to be the whole group. Because if that's the case, then where the hell are Haschwald, Uryu, and the elite guards? Did they take a coffee break or something, or are they just hiding in the shadows waiting to strike? Also, I'm surprised that Urahara is getting all the Shinigami that have gathered ready to break into the Soul King's palace, because I thought they were going to be waiting for Mayuri, Nemu, and especially Shinsui. And I know this is beating off a dead horse, but what about Grimjow, Nell, and the Fullbringers? Are they going to show up anytime soon? Because what's the point of foreshadowing their appearances if they're not going to, show up ever in this final arc or do anything? But on the plus side, at least we're going to get the confrontation between Yuha and Ichigo, if they are gonna fight, and with the Shinigami that have gathered that are going to break into the Soul King's palace, if we're lucky, we might get to see more of their abilities that we've never seen before, or their abilities that we've seen before, but this time more in detail, like Kenpachi's Shikai or Shuei's Bankai. Also, with what's going on with Ichiru, I really have no idea, but I've heard some theories that she might have been Kenpachi's Zanpakuto spirit or something, which sounds really far-fetched considering that she also has her own Zanpakuto, and she's also a Shinigami, but after hearing the theory more in detail, it's pretty likely that Ichiru might have been a Zanpakuto spirit. I don't know where Kubo is going with Ichiru in this, but hopefully he'll pull it off. So overall, this chapter, well, just like the previous one, was average. The pacing was slow, and this was another quick read. So finally, we have Bleach chapter 614, Kill the King. So the chapter begins as the remaining Vizards, Hiyori, Love, Hachi, and Lisa arriving at Urahara's location, carrying a large container with a very long spout. I really have no idea what that thing is. After some banter between Shinji and Hiyori, which I really didn't care for, Hiyori pours this liquid onto the platform, which was the substance that was created at distortion points between the Soul Society and the Dangai. It's also going to be used as a source of energy to travel to the Soul King's palace. It's also the same substance that Yoruichi had that was used for Ichigo and his group to arrive at the Soul King's palace. The substance that Hiyori now has all been purified and is going to be fused with the captain's Ryatsu. But before they can do anything else, Hiyori, Hachi, Love, and Lisa have to change into Shihakusho, to which Hiyori was going to protest, going to say something, whatever it was, but Love shuts her up and carries her to the change room. He tells her to quit whining and that Shinji, Kensei, and Rose are all putting their lives on the line, and that she shouldn't dare go back there with that look on her face. Anyway, instead of bursting up into the sky, breaking into the Soul King's palace, what Urahara plans to do is to create a gateway. However, once they go through the gate, there's a chance that there is no way of making it back. To which this pisses off Soifon because she assumes that Urahara would think that those words would cause the slightest bit of hesitation, and that he shouldn't underestimate them since, they are members of the 13 Courtyard squads. Ukitage feels the same way, and Kenpachi, on the other hand, oh god, the translation on Kenpachi's speech. You know what? I'm just gonna say this word for word. I don't give two shits if we're being underestimated or if everyone wants to hold their hands and sing Kumbaya fucking ya. Whether we can come back or we don't. Who gives a shit? As long as I can rape everything that stands in my way, I'll have a big fucking grin on this face of mine. Why was that translated like this? I don't know, but it was kind of funny. Anyway, this moves Urahara, saying that they're all going to get going together. Then we got back to Ichigo and the others who were currently confronting Yhwach. Yhwach knew that Ichigo arrived to stop him from killing the Soul King, and Orihime notices Yhwach's eyes, to which Yhwach tells Ichigo that his eyes are all-seeing, the proof of the true Quincy. He knew that they met Ichibei and restored his body, and that Ichibei asked them to stop him from killing the Soul King and proceeded on their way to here. Which is weird because in the previous chapter, thinking, you damned monk. And yet him being the almighty and all-seeing, he knew that Ichibei was going to do this, yet he was a bit ticked off by Ichibei in the previous chapter, which, okay, I guess. Well, anyway, it was already too late for them to do anything because Yhwach reveals that he's already stabbed the Soul King, and that the Soul King is already dead. You know, if the Soul King is already dead, then why isn't the entire Bleach universe being destroyed already? And come to think of it, the Soul King didn't really respond after getting stabbed by the sword. And I was right, he has no arms and legs. Anyway, Ichigo's flash steps towards the sword, and it seems that he was going to pull out the sword, which was really stupid because of what happens later on. Wouldn't have made more sense if, like, Ichigo tried to, like, distract Yhwach while Orihime tries to heal the Soul King using her Sotenkishun or something? I mean, granted, this is Yhwach, but at least the rest of the group might have been able to distract him long enough for Orihime to restore the Soul King or something. Anyway, Yhwach knew that Ichigo was going to pull the sword out of the Soul King, to which you'd think Ichigo would be very suspicious over this, but no, it's too late because he pulls the sword out, and according to Yhwach, Ichigo is going to bring Soul Society to ruin with his very own hands, as Blut Vene appears at the side of his body, and apparently Blut Vene can take control over Quincy's or something, because that's what happened to Ichigo once he pulled out Yhwach's sword. Being under Yhwach's control, he swings the sword slicing at the Soul King, causing even more damage to him, because according to Yhwach, it's the Quincy blood that's flowing through his veins, which was why the Blut Vene was controlling Ichigo to do this. At least I think that's what happened. So, yeah, Ichigo really screwed up big time in this chapter. I mean, we even get to see a platform of the Soul Society starting to break, and then the chapter ends with Yhwach saying, "Come, Ichigo, let us gaze together upon the destruction of Soul Society." So that is Bleach chapter 614. What did I think? This chapter was actually better than the previous two chapters. The first part of the chapter was basically the Shinigami getting ready once again to go to the Soul King's palace, to which I didn't mind that much, but we've been getting a lot of that as of late, but at least we got some information on how they're going to get there. But the best part of the chapter was definitely the second half, with the confrontation between Ichigo and the others and Yhwach. It seems that we're getting to the climax of the series, which is strange because the pacing of the last two chapters was pretty slow. And now in this chapter, Soul Society is about to get destroyed thanks to Ichigo. I know it sounds like I'm being harsh on him, but seriously, that was really stupid of him to pull out the sword of the Soul King. Even if he wasn't being controlled by the Blut Vene, did it ever occur to Ichigo that maybe pulling the sword from the Soul King might cause more damage to the Soul King? Because if he pulled out the sword, the Soul King will bleed internally and will cause even more damage to his internal organs or something. I mean, his dad's not only a shinigami, but he also works at a clinic, so you'd think he would know something like that. I know he was like going on instinct here, but usually there's like a time to think and a time to act, and that really was not the time to act. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens in next week's chapter. So tell me guys, what do you think of these three chapters of Bleach? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Do you think that this is it for the Soul Society, or will the destruction be delayed in some way, shape, and form? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like the video if you like it and subscribe to more videos, and be sure to check my Facebook fan page and Google+. So yeah, that is Bleach chapter 612, 613, and 614. I'm Lunar Spawn 27, and I will see you guys later. Bye.